Because I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man.
We've had a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for the longest time. This time, though, we're getting back alley Spider-Man. He's broke, he has no Aunt May beside him, and MJ, Ned, and everyone else he loves no longer remember who he is. His body's undergoing a dangerous physical evolution, and while the city outside screams Spider-Man like he's a folk hero, no one actually remembers Peter Parker. Sounds pretty bleak, right? Well, that's the vibe Marvel's going for in Spider-Man Brand New Day. And it is distinctly different from whatever we've had so far. Marvel's official synopsis says that 4 years have passed since No Way Home, and that Peter has devoted himself to being a full-time Spider-Man while a physical evolution threatens his existence. And that's a problem because No Way Home came out in 2021, which is forever in movie years. So chances are you were probably a bit hazy about the mechanics of what went down. That's why we're here today. We're going to do a full emotionally loaded recap of our boy Spider-Man's story in No Way Home, because that is what this movie is built on. We're also going to catch you up on Frank Castle and Bruce Banner, both of whom are returning, while looking at rumors surrounding Sadie Sink and the villains circling Peter. So, let's get to it. Spider-Man No Way Home recap: the spell that erased Peter. Okay, so let's set the scene. Far From Home ends with the ultimate, well, that kind of escalated quickly moment, because Mysterio's doctored footage is released and reveals to the entire world that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And as if that weren't enough, it also frames him for Mysterio's death. Pretty dope, I know. J. Jonah Jameson, who's basically running an InfoWars knockoff with better lighting, blasts this out to the masses like it's his magnum opus. As a result, Peter's life detonates completely. Crowds start harassing him in the street. He's hauled in for questioning, and the controversy surrounding him affects not only his future, but also those of MJ and Ned. Their applications to MIT are rejected partly because of their association with Spider-Man. As the legal pressure grows, Matt Murdock shows up and helps Peter avoid criminal charges. But here's the thing. Matt Murdock is very good at legal work, but that does not mean he can change public opinion with a persuasive argument. Just because Peter is legally in the clear does not mean he's socially fine. So, whether you like it or not, our boy's messed up. Peter decides to do what a desperate teenager in his shoes might do. He goes to Doctor Strange and asks for a memory spell. However, he does not originally ask everyone to forget that he's Spider-Man. He asks Strange to make the world forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Pretty simple and straightforward, right? Surely there's no way this can go wrong. But this is Peter Parker. If anything can go wrong, it will 100% go wrong. As Doctor Strange is casting the spell, Peter keeps making corrections. Wait, not Aunt May. Not MJ, not Ned. You get the drift. And can you blame the guy? He wants peace, but he doesn't want the people closest to him to forget the truth. The repeated alterations destabilize the spell. Strange manages to contain it, but not before it begins drawing people from other universes who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Suddenly, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman, and the Lizard all arrive uninvited. They do not all immediately want to kill Peter, and several of them are confused about where they are, but each becomes a dangerous problem. Doctor Strange comes up with a simple plan: contain the visitors and send them back to their own universes. However, Peter discovers that some of them are destined to die while fighting Spider-Man. Peter, who's just about the kindest guy we've ever met, does not want to send them back to certain death. He wants to cure them instead. It goes without saying that this is one of the most Peter Parker decisions in the history of Peter Parker decisions, and it costs him everything. Peter takes Strange's containment device and traps Strange in the mirror dimension so that he can pursue the redemption plan uninterrupted. For a hot minute, it actually kind of works. He repairs Doc Ock's inhibitor chip, allowing Otto Octavius to regain control of his mechanical arms. He begins developing cures for the other villains and even appears to make progress with Norman Osborn. But then the Green Goblin personality claws its way back to the surface. The villains turn against Peter inside Happy Hogan's condominium, and the entire plan collapses. During the battle, Goblin attacks Aunt May with his glider and a pumpkin bomb. May dies shortly after telling Peter that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. This is the MCU's version of the defining loss in Peter Parker's life. In the original comics of the 2002 Spider-Man movie, Uncle Ben dies after Peter allows a criminal to escape, and that same criminal later kills Ben. That tragedy teaches Peter that ignoring his responsibility has devastating consequences. Here, Peter's already a hero. He chooses compassion when almost nobody else would choose it, and May dies while affirming that the compassionate choice was still the right one. Peter does not lose her because he refused to help. He loses her while trying to help people everyone else considered beyond saving. Understandably, the grief-stricken Peter no longer wants to keep helping the villains. He's one bad decision away from becoming the kind of person May spent her life trying to stop him from being. Luckily, MJ and Ned managed to pull off a generational save. Using Doctor Strange's sling ring while searching for their Peter, Ned accidentally opens portals that bring in the Peter Parkers, played by Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Now look, I'm not saying this was not a popular cameo because that's exactly what it was, but there's something more to it. Holland's Peter does not know how to deal with grief that enormous, so he needs support from people who understand him completely. And who's better at understanding him than other versions of himself? Tobey's Peter lost Uncle Ben, while Andrew's Peter lost Gwen Stacy. They are two different kinds of losses, yes, but they are losses nonetheless. They talk Holland's Peter down from the ledge, preventing him from allowing vengeance to control the next chapter of his life. These two Spider-Men have been there, done that, and know firsthand that surrendering to rage does not bring anyone back. The three Spider-Men work together to cure the villains instead of destroying them. During Peter's final confrontation with Green Goblin, he comes dangerously close to killing Norman, only for Tobey Maguire's Peter to stop it. But there's still a problem. Reality's falling apart at the seams because the damaged spell's containment is breaking. Figures from across the multiverse who know that Peter is Spider-Man are beginning to cross into the MCU. Peter realizes that the only way to stop the collapse is to ask Strange to cast a more drastic spell. Instead of making everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Peter asks Strange to make everyone forget Peter Parker entirely. The spell works. Everyone forgets Peter, including MJ, Ned, Happy Hogan, Doctor Strange, and the rest of the people who knew and loved him. The film does not explicitly confirm that every physical record of Peter's existence vanished, but it leaves him completely alone and forced to rebuild his life without relying on his former identity or relationships. The film's gut punch comes when Peter visits MJ's coffee shop. He sees that she and Ned are safe and preparing for their futures. MJ speaks to him but has no idea who he is. Peter originally intends to explain everything, but after seeing the scar on MJ's forehead and realizing the danger she endured because of him, he changes his mind and walks away. From there, he moves into a cheap apartment, studies for his high school equivalency qualification, sews his new suit by hand, and returns to a stripped-down, no Stark tech, no Avengers version of Spider-Man. And that's exactly where Brand New Day picks up 4 years later. Peter has voluntarily removed himself from the memories and lives of everyone he loves, and has spent those years living in the wreckage of that choice.
I didn't know you could get that big.
Where was Hulk last? Bruce Banner recap. We have to focus on the big green guy for a second because Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner is officially part of the Brand New Day cast. Marvel has not described his role as a cameo, and the trailer suggests that he may have a meaningful connection to Peter's physical transformation. So a quick refresher on his arc over the years. Banner began as a mild-mannered scientist who transformed into the rage-driven Hulk, a personality who did not share Bruce's priorities, opinions, or concerns for his safety. By the time that we get to Avengers Endgame, Banner has found a way to combine his own intellect and personality with Hulk's transformed body, becoming the version usually called Smart Hulk. He has Bruce's scientific mind and Hulk's physical power, although the complicated distinction between Banner and Hulk has never been fully explored since that transformation. After Endgame, Smart Hulk became one of the MCU's go-to scientific mentors. We saw him appear in Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, initially in his human form and then in She-Hulk Attorney at Law, where he helped Jennifer Walters understand gamma radiation and the physiology of Hulk transformations. That shows important context here because it established that gamma mutations can behave differently depending on a person's biology. Bruce and Jennifer can both transform, but the exact effects on their bodies and minds are not identical. And then we come to Brand New Day. The official synopsis said that Peter undergoes a surprising physical evolution that threatens his existence, while trailer footage shows Bruce speaking with him in an academic setting. However, Marvel has not officially explained what Peter's transformation is, what causes it, or whether it involves organic webbing, gamma radiation, or some other mutation. Banner's presence makes sense because he's one of MCU's leading experts on unstable superhuman biology and involuntary physical transformations. Whether he already knows Spider-Man, remembers working with the masked hero during the Avengers conflicts, or is meeting Peter Parker for the first time remains unclear. The spell made everyone forget Peter Parker. It did not necessarily erase people's memories of Spider-Man as a public hero. So, Bruce may remember fighting beside Spider-Man without remembering the young man behind the mask. While I'm not expecting Bruce to take over the entire movie, I am hoping to see him do some serious narrative work regarding Peter's changing body. If Peter's powers are mutating beyond his control, Banner is one of the most qualified people in the MCU to help him understand what is happening.
The hell, Frank? You just hit me with a van!
Quit your whimpering.
Where was Punisher last? Frank Castle's full arc. Now, this is the section where we have the most updates because there's a lot of content out there treating Frank Castle like his story ended with 2 seasons of a Netflix show back in the 2010s. It did not. Frank Castle has continued into Marvel Studios' current continuity, and Brand New Day brings him into an MCU theatrical release. Frank Castle is a former Marine whose wife and children were murdered during a gang shootout connected to a wider conspiracy involving corrupt military and covert operatives. He hunts down those responsible and becomes the Punisher. He was introduced in Daredevil Season 2, where he immediately clashed with Matt Murdock over methodology. Matt refuses to kill, while Frank believes permanently killing violent criminals is the only form of justice that actually prevents them from hurting anyone again. In the 2-season Punisher series, we spend much more time inside Frank's head and understand how warfare, loss, guilt, and constant violence have affected him. He lives with severe trauma and repeatedly struggles to find an identity beyond vengeance. Frank later returned in Daredevil Born Again. During the conflict with Wilson Fisk's anti-vigilante task force, Matt sought Frank's help after discovering that corrupt officers had appropriated the Punisher's skull. Frank was eventually captured but escaped imprisonment during a post-credits scene. Those events led to a Marvel television special presentation, The Punisher: One Last Kill, which premiered on Disney Plus on May 12, 2026. Its official premise follows Frank as he searches for meaning beyond revenge before an unexpected force pulls him back into the fight. One Last Kill bridges Frank's recent television story and his return in Brand New Day. John Barenthal has explained that the Spider-Man film is tonally very different from the Punisher special, but he still wanted Frank's characterization to remain consistent across both projects. When he appears in Brand New Day, he's not a reboot or a sanitized version of the character. He's the same Frank Castle who appeared in Daredevil, The Punisher, Born Again, and One Last Kill. With Punisher appearing in Brand New Day, he becomes one of the most prominent characters originating from Marvel's Netflix-era television shows to take a major role in an MCU theatrical movie. Matt Murdock appeared in No Way Home, and Kingpin appeared in Hawkeye, Echo, and Born Again. But Frank's involvement appears to be far more action-heavy than Matt's brief legal cameo. The exact circumstances that bring Spider-Man and Punisher together have not been fully explained. The trailer footage establishes that they interact and suggests they may temporarily cooperate, but Marvel has not officially confirmed that Peter recruits Frank specifically to protect MJ, or that MJ is the central villain's target. Still, can you imagine the moral collision that's about to happen? You have Spider-Man, who represents hope and restraint. He's a non-lethal hero who gives second chances even to people who have tried to kill him. And Punisher is the exact opposite. Frank sees lethal violence as an acceptable and often necessary form of justice. Peter, without May beside him, is standing next to a vigilante built around the idea that Peter's worldview does not work. The tension between the two is enough to get me into a theater seat. Sadie Sink, the X-Men rumors, and the villains circling Peter. Yeah, we're going to talk about this. Sadie Sink's role in the movie has been one of the internet's favorite obsessions. Marvel officially lists Sink as part of the cast, but it has not publicly identified her character. There's been widespread speculation that she could be playing Jean Grey, another mutant character, or someone entirely unrelated to the X-Men. But despite all the rumors, Marvel has not confirmed that Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey. So as exciting as the theory is, we cannot treat it as fact. There have also been claims that her character has a close connection with Frank Castle or is being pursued by Damage Control. Unless those details appear in official footage or are confirmed by Marvel or Sony, they remain rumors rather than established parts of the film. But if Sink were playing Jean Grey, it would obviously be enormous. Jean is one of Marvel's most powerful telepaths and telekinetics, and one of the central figures in X-Men mythology. Introducing her through a Spider-Man movie would give the MCU a quieter entry point into mutant stories rather than beginning immediately with a fully assembled X-Men team. For now, though, all we can safely say is that Sadie Sink is in the film and that her role is officially undisclosed. With that being said, let's talk about the villains, because the last thing you want is to be the person in the theater going, "Wait, who is that?" every 10 minutes. First, we have Scorpion. Mac Gargan is the same criminal Michael Mando played in Spider-Man: Homecoming. He took part in the weapons deal aboard the Staten Island ferry and was injured when Spider-Man disrupted the operation. Later, we saw Gargan in prison alongside Adrian Toomes, fishing for information about Spider-Man's real identity. Toomes protected Peter by claiming he didn't know who Spider-Man was. No Way Home never circled back to resolve Gargan's storyline, but Michael Mando is officially returning for Brand New Day. The footage indicates that Gargan finally receives a technologically enhanced Scorpion identity, paying off a storyline left hanging since 2017. Trailer footage and marketing have also led viewers to identify additional comic book villains, including characters who appear to resemble Tombstone, Boomerang, and Tarantula. However, Marvel's official cast page and synopsis do not name every villain, so those identifications should remain unqualified unless the studio confirms them directly. In the comics, Tombstone is a powerful organized crime figure with superhuman strength and durability. Boomerang is a costumed criminal who uses specialized boomerang weapons, while Tarantula is a name used by several martial artists and assassins. Their possible inclusion would track with the street-level atmosphere of Brand New Day. Peter has no Avenger support system, no Stark resources, no personal network, while New York's criminal world appears to be growing more dangerous around it. There have also been theories about connections to the Hand, the ninja organization associated with Daredevil and Iron Fist. Again, this is not a confirmed plot point, so it is simply something to watch for rather than something audiences need to know before entering the theater. What is Brand New Day really picking up? Let's talk about what you've been waiting for. There are 3 questions that I'm sure all of us want answered, and I'm going to approach them without pretending that we already know Marvel's entire plot. Number 1. Can Peter stay true to his ideals while standing next to Frank Castle? It's an interesting question because Peter is grieving and isolated. His body is throwing curveballs at him, and he has spent 4 years living without the people who gave his civilian life meaning. Now, as luck would have it, he's directly brought into contact with Frank Castle, the one vigilante who's likely to shoot first and reject Peter's beliefs in redemption. Peter is vulnerable in almost every sense, so, in a way, he may be more susceptible to a darker worldview than we've ever seen him before. There is a fair chance that standing beside Frank Castle will force Peter to test and defend his own moral logic. However, the official marketing has not confirmed that Peter will actually adopt Frank's methods. The more likely dramatic purpose is that Frank will challenge Peter's beliefs that every life can be saved, while Peter will challenge Frank's conviction that killing is the only permanent solution. Number 2. Is the MCU's mutant era quietly starting inside a Spider-Man movie? If the Jean Grey speculation surrounding Sadie Sink turns out to be correct, then Brand New Day could become a quiet side door entrance for another major mutant into the central MCU. Instead of beginning with an established X-Men team, Marvel could introduce individual mutants who are already living with their abilities before eventually bringing them together. That would allow audiences to enter the mutant world through a character's personal perspective. But right now, this is only a theory. Sadie Sink's casting is official. Jean Grey is not. The MCU has already introduced mutant-related characters and concepts through Ms. Marvel, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Deadpool and Wolverine, The Marvels, and other multiversal projects. So Brand New Day would not technically mark the first appearance of mutants in the MCU. It could, however, become another important step towards Marvel Studios' eventual X-Men film. Number 3. What does Peter's physical evolution mean for his body and future? Banner's appearance in a superhero movie is rarely just for small talk. His post-Endgame story has repeatedly involved understanding superhuman transformations and learning how biology, radiation, and emotional control interact. Marvel's official description says that Peter undergoes a surprising physical evolution that threatens his existence. That means this is not simply a new costume or a harmless upgrade. Something about his powers or body is changing in a way that could kill it. However, we don't yet know whether Peter is developing organic webbing, additional spider traits, a gamma-related condition, or something completely different. We also don't know whether Bruce is treating him, studying him, or warning him about what the transformation could become. It never ends well when your body starts mutating by itself, and Peter has never had to deal with his powers becoming an active threat to his survival before. So yeah, Brand New Day really is a brand new beginning of chaos for our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We have to watch him figure out how to manage his changing body without losing control or endangering anyone, while continuing to protect MJ and Ned from a distance even though neither remembers him. He's also going to cross paths with Punisher, a man whose methods challenge almost everything Peter believes about heroism. And I can't wait to find out what the physical evolution is doing to Peter, because I know for a fact that it's up to no good. Can Bruce help him manage it the way he learned to manage his own transformations? I sure hope so, because I do not want Peter sick. Somewhere in the middle of all this, there's also a chance the movie will offer another step towards the MCU's mutant era, but Sadie Sink's identity remains a closely guarded secret. So if you're a fan of Spider-Man, Frank Castle, Bruce Banner, and possibly the X-Men, this movie's for you. Make sure you book your ticket, and I'll see you there when Spider-Man Brand New Day arrives exclusively in theaters on July 31st, 2026. Don't forget, with great power comes great responsibility. And as always, stay marvelous.